Hey buddy, welcome to Yorkshire. Yeah, so hi, this video is going to serve hopefully two purposes. I basically want to talk to you about my new live system, which I gutted and rebuilt for the Deer Shed Festival, which I'm at this weekend. I'm up in North Yorkshire, sunny North Yorkshire, in my parents' kitchen. Thanks, Mum and Dad, they're out, so they don't have to come home to this monstrosity, I hope. And so there's two things. I want to show you the system and explain a little bit of my thinking behind the design, and so basically try and fully explain sort of the simplistic revelation that I've had that I'm employing. I want to try and truly explain the whole Stevio thing, and I'm going to use a diagram to do it, because what I'm doing, some folks have said, hey, you've gotten rid of your two Laddick sequences, and I haven't, I've still got them, but what I'm doing with the Metropolis and a modulating sequencer, the pressure points, is fundamentally the exact same thing, and I will explain this. What we're going to do is we're going to get a bloody bit of paper out, mate. We're going to look at paper, and we're going to use paper to describe it. To the drawing room. So if I draw what a pitch sequence might look like, this is basically the kind of control voltage that comes out of my Metropolis, this kind of stepped control voltage representing the different notes. And of course, Metropolis also sends gates out at the same time. It both sends pitches and gates. And when you can imagine, in effect, what the gates are, it's like it's like a slice through the pitch information, because when a gate fires, it makes the voice that this is driving become audible for that moment. So when the gate is active, we hear this pitch here for that little moment when it's open. That's the idea, that when you send a gate, you're hearing this pitch at that point. But nothing at all stops us using a multiple and sending this stair-stepped pitch information to another voice at the same time, and that is exactly what I'm doing. So I am sending the Metropolis's output first to the Mutable Instruments Platts, but I'm also sending a copy of it to the IntelliGel Dixie, which I use to create bass lines. The exact same pitch information, but I've pitched the Platts up and the Dixie down, so that they're both, the Platts is in kind of high register, the Dixie is in bass register. And then what I'm doing is I'm using another gate sequence to trigger the Dixie. And that means that that gate sequence could be doing little double taps there could be a gap, and then it could be slicing there, and then it could be slicing there and there, and there, or there, or there, there. What you end up with is this idea, you've got a set of sort of gates on one side, and you've got another set of gates on the other. And that even though they're sharing the same information, they're kind of slicing this little stair step at different times. And it ultimately just ends up meaning that you get this kind of cool interplay where it sounds like they're kind of working with each other in a rad and groovy way. Let me demonstrate practically. Okay, so here is the new system. Now, it's basically really all of the same kind of elements. The main changes have been to use the pressure points in place of the Z8000. I love the Z8000, but I've been wanting to try pressure points with this for ages. And the pressure points is the modifier. So that is the Metropolis sequencing Platts. And then Dixie. Tush. And then so we can use pressure points as a modifier. And the reason that we can do this is because the Metropolis has got 2 aux inputs, and those aux inputs are a thing of beauty. Aux input A I've got on P pre mode, which basically means that it is going to change the sequence. It's going to modify the sequence exactly like I've been doing with two sequences and a precision adder. It modifies them just from the aux input. It's awesome. And you've got a little pot so you can turn it off or put it on. And the other one, I've got to do octave shifts. And what I've got is the pressure point top row doing octave shifts and the middle row doing P pre semitone shifts. Let me just actually demo. So here is pressure points, and if I turn this up, see, I can use pressure points as a tactile modifier, and I can just leave it at a certain setting. So you can basically then get into doing little key shifts. So obviously I said that I was triggering the other voice with something else. And I'm using circadian rhythms to do this. So this is the bass line here. Just because I was originally using grids to do this, but I was finding that I was struggling sometimes just to get a simple rhythm, like the right rhythm. So I'm trying doing it manually. And what I don't love is that it's just an 8-step sequence. I would love it if it was less. But I'm also using circadian rhythms to make a kick drum. What I probably should do is use Euclidean circles to do the bass line. I'm just not there yet. But the point is that I'm using one sequencer to trigger the bass voice. I'm using the Metropolis's gate sequencer to trigger plats. So they're two different gates, but one sequencer and a modifier. This is the drum root impact, which I am trying. I like the drum root impact. That's basically it. A bass line and a lead line being triggered from one sequencer, or being pitched by one sequencer, but being gated in two different ways. That's it. There's nothing more clever going on here. And there's loads of different gate options. Grids, you could be using Euclidean circles, you could be using the antimatter, whatever, launch code, module, whatever you like. The beauty of using just one sequencer is that you can do this. I can just flip Metropolis, and of course the bass line is in perfect sync with the lead line. And the other thing is, because I'm not using a quantizer outside, as in I'm not using a 4-part quantizer, I can do this. So you can have nice slides. Yeah. So just listen to the interplay between lead line and bass line. For what it's worth, I would say a certain thing about the way that you set the Metropolis up. It's best not to have too many shifts on the Metropolis because it becomes too nuts. So a high pulse count with a high amount of available pulses, and the mode I've got it is in Brownian forward. Obviously there's different modes.
the message was. Able to figure out what the message was. Able to figure out what the message.
Yes, that's why this is ace. One thing I should just quickly cover the whole nature of the case. I'm going to put a link to Modular Grid downstairs in the description so that if you want to just look at all of the bits of this, that might be easier, but I'll very quickly give you a bird's eye overview. The major difference with the system is that I've got this new Bifaco hex mix over here, and I cannot tell you enough how much I think that the hex mix kicks colossal and fantastic ass. The main thing about the hex mix is that it has 3 aux sends, and those aux sends have stereo returns. So 3 mono out, 3 stereo inputs, so you don't have to sacrifice any channels to get the returns, which is absolutely frigging ace. So that is Platts. And I've got send 2, I have the Rainmaker. Send 1, Verb. Over here, dog. And then on send 3, I am trying the Eventide EuroDDL. Nice. There's other things with this. Oh yeah. Don't worry about it. It's got momentary switches, it's got mutes, volume, and then it has low, mid, and high EQ. Not a lot of like low, mid, high information here, but it's there, as well as, ooh, I've got the stereo the wrong way around. I'm wearing my headphones the wrong way around, clever lad. And then the coup de grace, don't worry about it. It's got PFL on the headphones, meaning you plug a pair of headphones in there and you can cue an element against the master mix. So for example, if you're trying to tune rings to what you're doing, you can hear it, tune it, and then bring it in. Absolutely awesome. And for the complete and total headshot, there are direct outs from the tops of the channels. So when you do jams, you can record all 6 channels directly rather than just as a mixed stereo out, which is outrageous. Plus I have the VCA expander where you get like VCAs that normal to the channels. So yeah, don't worry about it. It's basically perfect. I can't stress enough not having to lug a Mackie mixer and make like 15 connections in the absolutely frantic 10 minutes that you're trying to get your set ready before you're about to perform. That's a good thing. That's amazing. So I love this. I've got my sequencing heart front and center here, the Metropolis, with the pressure points being the modifier for Metropolis, and I'm using the divide output of the Metropolis to clock brains, which clocks the pressure points in turn if I wish, but I like to sometimes disengage that so I can manually do the shifts which modify the Metropolis sequence. Here I've got the circadian rhythms, which I'm using to make a kick pattern. I'm also using it to create the bass lines, gate pattern, and I'm also using it to make the rings' gate pattern as well. So I've got a way of just manually entering the gate patterns. I might use other sequences eventually, but this is what I'm trying now. Over here I've got my bass voice, the Jove, Dixie, and the Dot Mix, which is the sort of CP3 bass mixer from STG Sound Labs. And I've got the Platts, which is just basically eternally in chord mode, but I'm trying it in like the 2-op FM mode right now. Rings, because it's just because of light bass, as is Rainmaker, shout out mate. And then stages, which I'm using as a double envelope generator, one for the bass line, one to filter the Platts, because I really felt the need to filter Platts. It does have a lot of high frequency information, and I like being able to grab the knob and just change it. And then I've got a filter for rings for the exact same reason. And then up here, this is kind of like drums and effects. Rainmaker doing amazing pitch delays. Verb doing amazing algorithmic reverbs. This new Eventide EuroDDL, which I'm trying for delay. And then I've got the TG4 Future Sound Systems, which I'm using as an input for the drum root impact. I've used it for the TR8 as well. This impact does not belong to me, but I'm trying it and it sounds badass. The radio music for samples going through the Wasp, you know.
But none of them work on this particular problem. Wouldn't it be lovely
Carl
to
Sagan.
make contact with another civilization that has arisen and evolved independently?
It would, Carl.
Well, one thing you'd have to do first is to be sure you can understand the message. You should be able to send us a message that we can understand. And the reason I think that's likely is astronomy is weak.
And then I've got grids doing some percussion stuff. So yeah, grids doing some extra percussion, triggering the tip-top the ones, which is nice. And I've got, for my kick drum, I've got this tip-top one blended with the 808. So I can put low end in, which is necessary. Pamela's is the master clock. Euclidean circles is currently re-triggering Carl Sagan. Not something you say every day. Oh yeah. Sagan. Hail Sagan. That's rings. Drum impact. God, those hi-hats are so unusable. By the way, the person who said that, you're wrong. I'm afraid you're just plain wrong, mate. That's not what unusable hats sound like. Whoop. Woo. Oh, the dog's farted. God, no. Wow. Sagan. It's great. I really like this. I'm enjoying it a lot. By the way, that, yeah, Euclidean circles is triggering the reset on Turing machines, so you just get instant, like...
Why is grass green? These are profound, important questions.
Yes. Why is grass green? These are profound and important questions, Carl. That's right. Whoa. So the recipe is simply try taking one single sequencer and having two different gate pattern generators, and then use those to open the voices so that you've got your stair-stepped melody being picked out at different times. I think you'll find it is a super economical way of doing things, and it kind of just doesn't sound like the incredible cheat that it is. So, to that, then you add tons of effects and bells and whistles and lots of other elements, and then you can kind of cover over some of those repetitions as well. But the main other thing is to modify that original sequence in different ways. What I'm doing with the pressure points allows me to octave shift that original sequence, or to do literally what I was doing with the Stevie-O thing, which is effectively adding the stair-stepped melody from pressure points to the stair-step melody from Metropolis and get a new stair-stepped combo out. That just massively extends your possibilities, and it's just really nice on the Metropolis because you've got these little knobs, and I use the little knobs as a performance effect when I want to go up higher and lower, octave shift up and down. Then I can just twiddle a little Metropolis knob. It is very sweet. ideally hope that makes sense. I apologise if it doesn't. I've spent the whole day trying to explain the system to very small people, and I don't know if I succeeded. It's sometimes hard to explain simple things. Anyway, I love you. If you want to, please support me. I have a Patreon, I have a Bandcamp now, and you can go there and look at the things, and if you like things, then you can pay for the things. You're immense. And now I leave you.